What's up, everyone? So today, what I decided to do was a little tutorial for nflfastR in RStudio and the way that I end up doing one of my projects. I know some of you have been curious about it in the past, like how do I do it, so I kind of wanted to show you guys my strategy and my style and how I did everything. So my first step would be to load all my libraries. The first step actually would be to install all of the packages. This would just be how you install tidyverse, for example. But I already have it installed. I already have all my libraries loaded, so I don't need to worry about that now. To load them, you just need to run them. I already have them ran, so that's not a big deal for me. But yeah, so the project I chose to focus on was one I already did. It was quarterback performance and its relation to success. I looked at quarterback EPA and team win percentage as a form of team success, and I tried to plot the two together to see if there was a correlation. I also did the same thing with defense to see if there was any difference. The end result that I found with both of them was that both of them were pretty correlated to success. Quarterbacks were a little bit more correlated than defense was, but both of them were about like 0.6. That was the R, so they're both pretty correlated with success, as opposed to something I did with rushers and receivers, and the R was about 3, so they're almost double as correlated. Yeah, so what I wanted to look at was quarterbacks, so I could call it, QB data 21, quarterbacks 21. I called it QB data, so for the sake of this, I'm going to call it QB data again. This load pbplot function is built into nflfastR. You can use it to load any of the data for a specific season, or for example, you could do 2017 through 2021, but that's not what I want to do. I want to evaluate them individually. Yeah, and I can create this data frame. So yeah, here's what I would do. I'd group by passer player name. I'd filter out all the data that doesn't have EPA, so filter is dot na EPA. And something I failed to do actually for quarterbacks in my original project is I just picked all of the play-by-play data for 2021, and I failed to set the season type equal to the regular season. So I'm going to do that today, equal to reg, and yeah. And I also want to summarize the data, passes equal to n, the sample size, so I'm summarizing the sample size, and I'm setting it equal to passes. Passer player name sets you to only have passes, and passes will just be the sample size for the passes thrown. Yeah, you can title this whatever you want. You could title this throws for all purposes, but I chose passes. This is what I called my EPA per play. If you use a slash, I tried that at one point. If you use a slash, it's going to confuse the summarize function because it will see the slash and it'll think it's division, but I'm not dividing, so it's going to get confused. I'm trying to find the average or the mean for EPA per play, and this is also important because I'm going to want to join the data and I'm going to want to have the team logos. So I'm going to use team abbreviation. I'm going to call it team ABBR, short for abbreviation, which is kind of funny because, yeah, beside the point. Last possessing team, yeah. And lastly, I'm going to just filter passes greater than 100 because I want a high sample size instead of having somewhat of a low sample size, which will probably, have like Odell Beckham Jr. or Julian Edelman because they'll throw a pass once in a while. Yeah, and I could just run this and I'll have a data frame. A data frame up here. Boom. Andy Dalton, Aaron Rodgers. Something weird actually is that Aaron Rodgers has like 2 names, which is kind of confusing. But yeah, so you have the team abbreviation here. Yeah, and you can just repeat this step for every other year. For example, you could just Command copy, Command V, and then, or Control for some computers. I have a Mac, so it's Command, but yeah, so you could just do the same thing, just change the 21 to 20s right here, and then you could just do the same thing. I already have all of the data loaded, so, and the code loaded, so I don't really need to write it all out again, so I could just copy and paste it in here. Same thing applies, you could just run the code and you'll end up having a bunch of quarterback data sets or data frames here. You'll have 5. Just wait for that to load. And boom. 44, 44, 46, 46, 46. And there are 4 variables because those are the ones we chose. So we have the passer player name, we have the passes, average EPA, and team abbreviation. So those are the only the only columns or variables that we have for this data set. Yeah, so my next step was to get the data for team standings, but I'm not sure if you can get it through nflfastR or R. So what I did was I created an Excel sheet. As I showed you before, for passer player name, it's shown like this, so that's why I didn't choose to include only Keenum or write in something like Case Keenum. And I also have win percentage. It shows up as a percentage in Excel, but I wrote out the games because I feel like it'd be more effective, because it might be read wrong if you saw like 81% when there are a bunch of decimals. I think it's actually 81.25, but that's not that relevant. Yeah, so I have this Excel sheet, and yeah, so I originally had them on the same folder along with the R script, so I didn't really need to worry about where the data was, but let's just call this new data frame that I'm creating standings 21. And we're going to use this function, read Excel. This is super complicated because I keep everything in folders and I keep everything super neat. So you need to go through the desktop, through a folder I have called past projects, through another folder that has QB performance in relation to team performance. I spelled that wrong. This is why being case sensitive is super important. If this is like a capital C, it's gonna get confused, or if I forget to include the C, it's gonna get confused. Yeah, and then I want 2021, so 2021 NFL standings .xlsx. Yeah, if I fail to include desktop, for example, it's gonna say, I'll show you actually. If I fail to include desktop, it's gonna say path does not exist. Path does not exist. It doesn't understand what I'm saying. It's confused because I didn't include desktop. So just include desktop and it should go through. Boom. And now we have our standings. We have our leading passer. Aaron Rodgers is on the top, but that's only because his name starts with an A. And team win percentage. Yeah. So the next step would just be to copy the same strategy as I did for 21 and 20. Just copy and paste 21 for 20. Same thing here. You need to change that to 21. Again, I already have it, so I'm just going to do this. Yeah, let's save it. And the next step, oh, sorry, I should also run all this so that we can have, boom. So now we have 10 data frames, 5 for standings. Oops. Yeah, so now we have 10 data frames, 5 for standings, and 5 for the quarterback data. So now what I want to do is I want to join the standings data with the quarterback data. So what I'm going to do is QB data 21, QB data, 21, and now what I'm going to do is inner join standings. Did I not load standings 21? Oh, okay. Yeah, I messed up. I called it standing 21. I knew something was up. So I'm going to remove standing 21 because that doesn't make sense. yeah, I'm just going to remove it. It's going to be gone. It might be confusing. This RM can remove any of the data frames. I could remove QB data 17 if I wanted. I just need to change standing 21 to that. Yeah, so I just need to delete this and standings 21. So boom, there we have it. We have standings 21. And yeah, now it will probably show up standings 21 by equals. Also, I mean, a lot of the time, if something like won't pop up, there's probably something wrong. It'll show up more when I'm doing graphing, but if you can't really see a variable or the data frame, there's probably something up with your code or with the way you set it up or the way you typed it, because honestly, I mistype something all the time, and I'll be like, what's wrong? But the computer's not wrong. I mean, you're usually going to be wrong. The computer's never going to be wrong. But yeah, so I'm going to join it by the columns passer player name equal to leading passer. As you can see, oops, wrong thing. As you can see in the standings data, I titled this leading passer for the leading passer, and it's going to join the quarterback data, and this is going to shrink from 46 observations here to 32. Because I'm also adding, I also have, the team abbreviations are going to be the same. So it's going to become 7 variables instead of 4. And boom, 32 and 7. Again, I already have all the data set up. So I'm just going to copy and paste it in here. Boom. And now, yeah, 32 observations, 7 variables. So the next step is, I could plot the data, but it would be really confusing because you wouldn't know which quarterback's which, and you'd be like, oh, why is there just a black dot for the top quarterback? And you'd just be really confused. So the next step is we're going to do another join, but this time we're going to use a built-in nflfastR function, or it's a built-in database. It's called teams colors logos. So we're going to do QB data 21. We're going to load up QB data 21. We're going to left join teams colors logos. That's what it's called. It's another data frame basically. It's built into nflfastR, just like standings 21 or 20. And we're going to join it by equals to column team abbreviation equal to team abbreviation. And this 7 variables is going to change maybe to 17, sorry. Yeah, and you're going to have all this information, team ID, team logo Wikipedia, team logo ESPN, team colors. Yeah. Again, just I'd repeat the same step as I did earlier for everything else. QB data 20, QB data 17. Same thing here. I just copy and paste it because I already have it in my code, but the same thing could apply. You could just copy QB data 21, do this, and then just change up 20 and 20. But I already put it in over here, so I don't need to worry about it. Yeah, so I have all of my data together in this QB data frames, in these QB data frames. I don't have it in one. Yeah, so my next step would be to plot the data. With ggplot and ggimage, I can plot the data, and I'll show you how it works in a second. Let's say 2021 for example. Okay, QB data 21. Let's use this pipe function, which will always just continue the line of code. If I say something like in the console, I'll say like print hello, and if I just do this, it'll just print. But if I say print hello and I use the pipe, it's going to continue the line of code, and I could say print stuff. It's confusing because I used hello in the same thing, but yeah, that's why it works here. You could just do the group by and then the filter, Yeah, nflfastR also has just a bunch of different names to the, well, I actually load. I'll show you guys. You could just look at all the variables here. This should work. Yeah, there are a ton of variables. Yeah, so for what I did, I only chose a specific set of variables. I chose EPA, team abbreviation, and passer player name, and I also created passes with the sample size, but there's so much other stuff. It's super in-depth and super extensive. I have a bunch of other projects where I include things like half seconds remaining and, you know, quarter down, yards to go. Excuse me. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Completion percentage over expected, completion percentage. As you saw from my case study video, I don't know if you've seen it. It's on my profile somewhere. I use like touchdown probability, no score probability. That's also here. 2-point conversion probability, safety probability. It's super extensive. Yeah. So, yeah, I just specifically chose to look at these types of data, but yeah. Right now I'm piping nothing, so it's confused because I'm not saying anything. And I mean, also with tidyverse, you're going to have your filter, you're going to have group by, summarize. You're also going to have select commands, which, you know, I learned from SQL. I'm sure a bunch of you guys know it already, but you could use just QB data select passer player name, and you'll see it'll show up because it knows that you're looking for that. Or it doesn't know, but it knows it could be one of the things, and it'll show that. You can also use view to look at all the passer players' names. Boom, and it'll show right there. Boom, you have a little view box for every single one of the passers that are in the data frame. Yeah, what else is there that I could cover? I'm trying to think. There's a function that's mutate. I don't really need to do that now, but you know, you could just create a new column in your data set. I think there's a column here for score differential, but I didn't know that, so I mutated, I think, like possession team points. I don't know. Let's see. I can't find it, but it was like possession team score right here. Possession team score and defensive team score. It's right there. I can't believe I didn't see it, but yeah, I failed to see it, so I mutated possession team score minus defensive team score to create a whole new column. It was like mutate. It'll show up as something, mutate, and you call it hello, I don't know, or X, or I think I called it like point differential, and you could set it equal to pos team score minus def team score. Yeah, but that's not that important now. It's just something that I think should be helpful down the line if you want. For all the projects I use, group by is helpful, filter super helpful, summarize also super helpful to, you know, get sample sizes, averages. Select statements are also super helpful. You know, print is also pretty helpful so that you can see the data types. I could print QB data 21, and you know, you could see that there are a bunch of data types like integers for passes, numbers for EPA, characters, you know, and so forth. If you have any questions about, you know, any questions about specific commands or how filter works or how the group by works, let me know. I also use arrange a little bit. That's in my GitHub code if you want to see that. I used arrange to arrange the data by EPA originally for this. Yeah, but let's get into plotting it. We're going to use ggplot, and we're going to use this AES function. And you can set x equal to something if you just want to plot the x, but we're going to plot x and y. For this case, we're going to plot x as average EPA, it's going to pop up. This is also super important because if you usually do not see anything for ggplot, you probably messed something up. Yeah, and what I wanted to compare was win percentage and EPA. So also something super important is for ggplot, you don't use this pipe. You're just going to use an addition symbol to continue the line of code rather than the pipe function, because the addition symbol is going to continue the line of code. Next thing I'm going to use is geom image. This is how I'm going to get the team logos. Again, I'm going to use AES, and I'm going to set image equal to team logo ESPN. As I showed you before, you have everything here. Team logo ESPN. It's going to search through the URL and it's going to get the logo. Something else I want to add, I want to add a trend line so that, oops. Oh yeah, I see where I messed up. Yeah, you need to close the parentheses. That's why it looked weird. Yeah, I want to add a trend line, so I'm going to use the linear model method equal to LM. Yeah, I'm going to do some other stuff after, but this will be what the plot looks like. It'll take a bit to load up. And boom. Yeah, so you have the Packers, Bucks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, I believe, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr. You have everyone here. Team win percentage and average EPA. As you can see, a lot of the higher quarterbacks for EPA also have a high team win percentage. Yeah, so something else I'm going to do is I want to make this graph look a lot cleaner and neater. The column average EPA probably just doesn't look that appealing, so I'm going to change it to x is equal to the x-axis. I can just use this labs function. I can set x equal to whatever I want for my purposes. I'm going to call it 2021 QB EPA. I'm going to do the same thing for the y-axis, except for win percentage, 2021 team win percentage. I can also title it whatever I want. I can title it something like 2021 team win percentage and quarterback EPA. Yeah, something else is if you want to like center the title, you can use theme plot dot title equals element text, and you can change the text size. So you could do size equals 8. Usually I do 12, but you could do size equals to 12. Face equal to bold. It will make the letters bold, and horizontal adjustment equal to 0.5, so it'll be centered. Yeah, and this graph's going to look a lot different. Yeah, it'll just take a while to load. There we go. 2021 team win percentage, 2021 quarterback EPA. And lastly, but I think the most important thing is because I wanted to see how well they were correlated, I want to use this function core QB data 21, and I'm going to use this $sign to access all of the variables here. I'll first choose average EPA. You know, as you see what I said earlier, the variables are showing up, so it's meaning that I'm doing something right. And I also want to, this is the first variable that I'm trying to correlate it to, And I'm also trying to find the correlation for win percentage. And I can do the same thing, QB data 21, win percentage. It's where I got this from. Because it's from Excel, it kind of looks complicated. Rather than having, you know, a normal column name, it's going to look a little weird because of the space, and it's kind of hard for R to understand what it means, so it just does this. And I'm going to use equal to, complete.obs. And down here in our console, we're going to see what the correlation was. Wow, okay, so the R value was almost 8. So it seems that team win percentage is really correlated to quarterback EPA. You can honestly repeat the same process for the quarterback data in 2021. All you'd have to do is just, you could copy the data, QB data 20. Also, the reason why this starting is important is because you want to have the specific data frame so that you know where your variables are coming from. So now you know that this is for 2020 instead of 2021. Let me just change this up here, 2020, 2020, and 2020. Yeah, you can repeat the same process. Yeah. You can just, it'll take a while to load. Something else you can do with the geom smooth is, as you saw, well, you'll see in a second, you can also change the color. So this line is blue. Maybe I want the line to be red, or you see this like gray area around it. You can take that out. You can use SE equal to false and change the color to red, maybe, if you want. Oopsie, red. And it'll take a while, but it'll eventually load, and that gray area hovering around it will be gone, and the line will just be red. Boom. And you see the red line here. You see Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. Same thing applies, I believe, in the last graph for the 2021 season. The line was steeper, so the slope's probably lower and the correlation is lower. It takes a while to get back to the graph. I was going to try to get back to it to just show it back by back. That sounded weird. Back and forth, I guess. Yeah, you can see that the line got steeper. So I can just do another correlation, QB data for 20. It might be confusing that I'm not typing it in fully. I'm just using the arrows to scroll down. I could also click on it. I could also type it in. QB data 20, $, and I'm comparing it to win percentage, so I'm going to do win percentage. And again, I'm going to use complete. Something also important is the quotation marks. You can always just use single quotes if you feel like it, or you could use double quotes. Honestly, I vary between the two. I think a bunch of the times, you know, here I single quotes, double quotes, single quotes, double quotes, and double quotes, single quotes. It's going to give you the same result here. And the correlation is, you know, 0.67, almost 0.7, so the R was a lot stronger for the data in 2021. I could also perform the same research, or make the same graphs and find the same correlation for 19, 18, 17, but I think you guys get the drift. Yeah, something else that you can do, I believe, is, let's just use 2020 for our priorities. You can make a label. Label equal to passer player name. This is going to be kind of confusing because you don't actually have their names, so it's going to say like A. Rodgers instead of Aaron Rodgers, but you can also use, there are a bunch of these geom, you could add a geom point, which is why I said, you know, you'd have a black data point instead of the Packers logo, which is why it's really cool that you have the logos. You could have a bar. It wouldn't really make sense here. but you could also do that. But for this purpose, we're going to use text to add text, and we also need to add the addition symbol so that it continues the line of code through. And it says I'm missing. Oh, okay, my fault. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, this should be good. See the X there? It said my code was wrong. And this should work, I believe. The text might look weird. I might have to adjust it horizontally and vertically, but yeah, it's taking a while. But it should work, and boom. Obviously, this looks confusing. You're like, I don't really even see the names. But Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This looks pretty cool. So you have the player names, the team logos, their EPA, or an estimation at least. So Gardner Minshew might have had, a 0.05 EPA, where Aaron Rodgers might have been closer to 0.35. Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes, his team had the highest win percentage. Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew, their teams were both pretty bad, so they had pretty low win percentages. I think that's it. Yeah, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you had any trouble or difficulty with the code. If you want, you could try to just copy my code and follow along and see how it works. The only issue is that you would need to find these Excel sheets. If you want, I'm going to link my GitHub where you can find my project, and I believe you can find the Excel sheets. I believe I have them linked there. Yeah, I'll also create a GitHub for this code if you want to just copy it and follow along. Yeah, thanks for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment. Please subscribe. I'm going to try to post pretty weekly, maybe every other week. Yeah, I don't have that many project ideas, but I'll try to go through some of mine. I might do some more tutorials. As you saw before, I did a case study on the Bengals-Raiders playoff game. If you haven't seen that video, I think it's pretty fascinating. I think you could check it out. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Please leave a comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching.